more or less my talk is basically about Bitcoin. So I'm going to start it off correctly by playing the Bitcoin anthem. Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. People said digital money, yeah, that internet money. I'm gonna copy that in for there for y'all, so all y'all got the link to the song. Step out the matrix, a crack the code. Got two Bitcoins for a flow. You need Bitcoins for a show. Innovation across the globe. Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. All right, so I'm gonna drop that so you all have the anthem in there, and we'll hop into this talk on marketing Bitcoin to the masses. First and foremost, just like with your talk, personality and relationships play a big role in marketing and relating with people. The thing is, majority of the world doesn't understand or know what Bitcoin is or understand the value of it. But there's actually two main use case scenarios which will allow it to be marketed to the masses. One is the need factor, and the other is the greed factor. In certain parts of the world, specifically, people need Bitcoin, such as Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Zimbabwe, because of the devaluing currencies. So specifically, having Bitcoin empowers people and it gives them the opportunity to be able to have financial freedom. In places such as the United States or Europe, where economically things are a little bit more stable, the greed factor is what comes into play. So the whole thing is, different markets and different groups, we have to create different content and different means of connecting with people overall and based on where they're at. So generally, the people who have gotten into Bitcoin have gotten into it based on the fact that they have a certain level of education and they understand the value of it through education. So because of that, the education, a lot of people got into it early. Now, getting into it early based on having that education is a big benefit. The whole thing is, majority of the world may not have the same type of time or understanding to get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So the main way to get to people is specifically by reaching them on the most simple level through art, creativity, content. So my key things that I'm gonna touch on in my talk is that people and relationships, basically being able to speak to the different people of the world through creativity and content, and therefore touching more people on the planet and letting them know that there's alternative economies and alternative means of basically living on planet Earth and actually transacting. In terms of content, every form of content is ideal, and specifically you can start getting into niches and putting more information out there through your specific niche to let people know the value of Bitcoin, and even accepting Bitcoin as being a part of your niche. Maybe like if you're a yoga teacher, you offer your classes for Bitcoin. Beyond that, once you start getting into the real marketing of Bitcoin, the main thing and the most important thing is engagement. How do you engage the different people into getting into Bitcoin? So specifically, my biggest means of getting people into Bitcoin was specifically, I did a song in 2016 about Bitcoin. And it was basically more around a trap theme. So anyone who specifically liked that style of music, they got to hear a Bitcoin song, and it put something in their mind of something new, and specifically talking about the technology and talking about how you can get into it and the benefits of the technology. So that goes back to the most important thing of once you create content, that engagement with that content, getting people to hear it, getting the conversation out there. And that's like marketing 101. Once you get engagement leads to so much thing, because nowadays the main currency for marketing is attention. So if you get people's attention specifically, you can do unlimited things with that. And that's a very important with Bitcoin, specifically getting people's attention, and then specifically giving them a means to engage. Now, the thing with a lot of companies and a lot of businesses, they're always about the numbers. Show me the numbers, show me the numbers, show me the numbers. And numbers are awesome, but once you become very experienced with marketing, you realize that the numbers can always be rigged in your favor. But the thing that is most important is the results beyond the numbers. So specifically, once we're marketing Bitcoin to the world, numbers are important, but specifically the engagement and the actual getting the result of people actually getting into it, whether it be, you know, people singing the Bitcoin song, specifically people putting Bitcoin in films. One of the biggest things that I've always said was, if Bitcoin is a currency and it's money, you need to have rappers rapping about it, and you need a lot of rappers doing it. So that's very important. The next point that I wanted to touch on was, the end goal. So if mass adoption of Bitcoin is the end goal, then specifically all the other points have to be hit. A high level of content creation for people to get into Bitcoin, and for people to actually see the content and actually be able to engage with the content and actually know that, okay, Bitcoin is actually growing. It's actually something that's really important to get into, because most people don't realize that when people see this talk, it's going to be way past this, but imagine the fact that there's a $200 billion industry in its infancy, and majority of the world is not aware of it. So that's why it's very important to, if we're going to create a change where more people can actually reach a level of financial freedom or have access to the new economy, actually market it and promote it to them and give them an opportunity to engage with the new technology. And yeah, that was my main things to hit at. And that's why I came up with the concept World Star Bitcoin, because the whole thing is, you want everyone to worldwide to be able to engage with this star technology. And this technology specifically has a potential of changing the world. And the whole thing is, the more people that have the opportunity to get access to it, the transfer of wealth can get in more people's pockets or in their wallets. So yeah, that's the main thing. Any questions, any ideas, anything that you guys feel about what it would take to market Bitcoin to the masses? Any opinions?
Yeah, I'm very curious. You mentioned all these other different geographies. Colombia kind of resonated, half Colombia, so I remember that one, but you mentioned a few others where you say people have this need. I'm half Colombian, but yeah.
Bueno, yo vivía en Cartagena.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious. How are you seeing? I was very engaged with, well, or rather, I follow a lot of information around Bitcoin a few years ago, and then kind of like in the last year and a half, very little, or the last 2 years, very little. And I'm very curious to hear how you're seeing it evolve in this type of, I don't know, I wish I had a better term than developing countries or something like that. it's a shit terminology, but I don't have a good way to define them. But yeah, just kind of curious about what you're seeing.
Okay, so for emerging economies, Bitcoin is actually one of the most saving graces for emerging economies. Here in Argentina, the evaluation of the devaluation of the currency has been so ridiculous in Argentina. And one of the funniest things is, with all of that going on, you remember in 2017, Bitcoin reached $20,000? If you had bought Bitcoin at $20,000 in 2017, you'd have preserved your wealth, even with Bitcoin reaching $3,000, compared to keeping your money in the Argentinian peso. So that gives you a perspective that being able to hold on to your wealth, Bitcoin specifically gives that opportunity. And I see Jonathan in here. Shout outs to Jonathan. Lots of love.
Aloha, brother. Good to see you.
Aloha. The universe is really small.
For real.
So yeah, the importance of it, giving the information to everyone and getting everyone aware of the importance of Bitcoin is specifically the saving grace for third world economies. And just the opportunity that in this day and age, anyone can create their own digital currency and fork that Bitcoin code and specifically have their own coins. That's super powerful. So what I've found is marketing Bitcoin to the masses is basically creating super dope, engaging content and sharing it with people, and specifically asking the question, do you know what Bitcoin is? Do you understand what Bitcoin is? Do you understand that right now there's a huge transfer of wealth going on and you can be a part of this? And it's beyond that. At the end of the day, just seeing things such as movies, videos, and just hearing Bitcoin in The Simpsons or Bitcoin in Black Lightning, it's letting people know like, oh, wow, this is actually going on right now. Let me get in. What is this Bitcoin thing? And education is key. If you're aware of what Bitcoin was in 2009 or 2010, 2011, 2012 specifically, it would change your life. And not even if you didn't buy it, just the education and the awareness of that. So right now we're in 2020 and we've already gone through the halving. We're seeing all these different adjustments that are occurring in the system. And just seeing that in Germany, that they're going to be custodian Bitcoin in the banks, just that kind of level of opportunity, it's now or never. And the whole thing is marketing is coming down to content and creating engaging content. And that's what I look to bring to the space. And that's what the whole concept of World Star Bitcoin is. Let's, bring Bitcoin to the world and let everyone know about it. And it's beyond Bitcoin. It's just the philosophy of the fact that you can hold your wealth in personal sovereignty. And we do it through the form of art and creativity. If there's any questions or opinions, keep on hitting me. Yeah. Any questions? Anything new? Yeah.
I got to run, but thanks a lot for that. Actually, your enthusiasm is really infectious in the good sense. Unfortunately, that term these days has taken a wrong meaning. But yeah, man, I love your energy, and it's really cool to hear you talk about this topic. Anyway, got to go. Let's meet you, and thanks for that talk.
Definitely. Ciao. Cuídate.